Okay, let's get this out of the way. Yes, this game is called Ballz 3D. Yes, it's got balls in the title. I will attempt to refrain from making too many sexual innuendos in this review, but I'm not guaranteeing a damn thing. Why? Because the game is called Ballz. Second off, have you ever really played a game that has a pluralized title? Instead of an S, it contains a Z, and the game actually being good? Most of the time, it's false advertising because the creators figure, hey, let's be cool and put a Z instead of the S, because that's insinuating that the game is going to be fresh and hip. Sadly, Ballz 3D is neither fresh, hip, or even good. It's a simple fighting game that attempts to take place on a 3D field, but what you really get is a mess of a control scheme, horrible hit detection, and just poor design. There's some sort of a story that the game attempts to follow, which revolves around a guy made of balls that tells you need to defeat him. His name is the Jester, and he'll grant you a wish if you win. You then get assaulted by the title screen, with some of the goofiest music ever. The demo is shown soon after, and how can you possibly take a fighting game seriously if you can play a freaking clown? But that's not the worst of it. The game is doomed from the start, because even before you're introduced to the Jester, you see a screen that just repeatedly states, balls, 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 balls. Is this necessary? Can you make it even stupider? Even during matches, there's a giant billboard surrounding the area. It'll constantly taunt you with meaningless things, and nothing here really makes any sense. You do get a selection of about 12 characters, but other than looks and movesets, I don't know if they have a story or a purpose, but all of them are made of balls. Little balls, big balls, colored balls, light balls, dark balls. We've got balls.
I've got big balls! I've got big balls! There's such big balls, and there's fancy big balls! And he's got big balls, and she's got big balls!
Okay, but seriously, let's talk about the fighters real quick. You have Kronk, a caveman. Boomer's your clown, Bruiser is some big guy, Turbo is obviously speedy, Tsunami, if I'm getting the stereotypes correct, is a sumo wrestler, Yoko I would assume to be a female monkey, and Divine a ballerina? You got Crusher too, which I can't even tell you what he's supposed to be. A golem maybe? In any case, these fighters are about as plain as you can get. There's also a few mini-bosses that you need to fight, but I can't even get past the first. It's got a much higher range than you do, and maybe that's because it's a fucking ostrich! You can't even get close enough to punch it in the face before it just grabs your leg and chucks you over its back. Repeat this about a dozen times, you'll just shut the game off. But not me. I was determined, and I was deemed a failure after multiple attempts. The worst thing about the actual fighting isn't that the arena looks like a bland room with a detailed wallpaper. It's not the random screens in the background that make absolutely no fucking sense, or even the comments the billboards type out. Nor is it the awful music, or extremely quirky sound effects. I'll admit, it's not even the health meter, which, just like the rest of the game, is just a bunch of balls. No, it's the fighting itself. It feels nothing like a normal fighting game, instead just like a hopeless button mashing contest. I know, some people feel that other fighting games are just button mashers anyway, in which case I can completely see where you're coming from. But this game just sucks ass compared to those. Trying to do any moves is nearly impossible. I don't even know how I actually moved around, because it seems like you'll just move around random directions. The computer is about as random as you can get. I know I did a few moves, but I have no freaking clue how. As for grappling, I have no fucking idea. It's sad when I can admit I did everything you're watching just by mashing buttons and hoping to God that I hit the enemy before it hit me. Somehow there's a way to do Ballz' version of a fatality, but I have no freaking clue how. And wait, did Divine just grab my balls? She's fucking giving me a hand job! This game just puts literal meaning to the word balls. Perhaps the coolest thing about the game is that your opponent explodes into balls when they die. I know, it's not really something that I should be pointing out in a freaking high point of a game, but when you're dealing with balls, you gotta take what you can. Unfortunately, that's all I got for Ballz 3D. There's also an SNES version, but I didn't even dare to play it. It seems that could have been a cool idea, but it's just executed horribly. I've tried a few times and I just cannot defeat the final boss no matter who I pick. So that's it. 4 enemies in and I need to call it quits already. I know, it may not seem fair to the game that I'm not making it any further, but unfortunately, I'm not Duke Nukem and I don't have balls of steel. So I can't handle the ball tap that Ballz decides to give me every time I try to play it. So whatever you do, stay away from Ballz. It's fucking Ballz. Final score? 3 out of 10. This is Reaper. Ballz.
That one is also sexual.